Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to another Wednesday night live stream. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn CJ Vogel, the young phenom and prodigy. Of course, we got a lot to get into. The two biggest topics of conversation on the show today: good news, bad news. The good news, you did get a commitment from Kaliq Lockett, who's one of the better wide receivers in the country. You also have the bad news. Of course, we learned it was confirmed, CJ, that CJ Baxter, your fellow CJ, so I know you're hurting about that one. He's going to be out for the season. We'll talk about it. We'll be your obviously your therapy session here if you need that. We'll work through it together. I think they'll be fine in terms of the team. For CJ Baxter, though, obviously, we're really sad for him, and I know that's very disappointing and traumatic for him. But he'll get past it because he's a great player and he's got a warrior spirit. I've met the young man several times, so wishing the best for him and a speedy recovery. But in the meantime, we got lots of football to talk about. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll answer as many of your questions as we can. Super chats can jump to the front of the line. They can interrupt the show at any time. Thank you guys for joining us and all your participation. That's what makes the show go. We'll jump into some other topics as well, but mostly we'll talk about those two things and answer your questions. CJ, I know it's been a busy day for you, brother. It's been jam-packed. How's everything going?
It's been busy, Rod. I mean, as you would expect, right? A busy day not only for Texas football, but for Texas recruiting. So, it's going to continue to be that way in the month of August, with several other big commitments coming, one of which Texas hopes goes their way tomorrow night with DJ Sanders. So not only is Texas, kind of finding the pieces and kind of finding the solutions with their running back future in 2024, but also finding that pieces for the 2025 class as well. Today was a big one, landing Kaliq Lockett, the first wide receiver in the 2025 class. Big piece, big pickup for the Longhorns there.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into the Kaliq. I got a chance to watch the film and do my own kind of personal evaluation of Kaliq Lockett. Loved what I saw. We'll get into that. So we'll start kind of with the good news. We know you guys obviously want to talk about CJ Baxter, how the coaches are going to adjust to him being out. What's the schematic adjustment? What players need to step up in that role? We'll certainly get to that. But first, let's thank one of our sponsors for our Wednesday night live stream. Andy Ludicky, of course, a part of the On Texas football family. And really happy to have him a part of the On Texas football family. And want to thank him. We're very grateful for him for sponsoring the Wednesday night live stream. Are you looking to diversify your portfolio? Maybe with someone like me that has their hands in multiple different businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. If you're stuck in the corporate rat race with just 2 weeks PTO, no control over your money and your schedule in general, call Andy. He will take you through a process to help you find businesses that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, give Andy a call today. You can see the number right there, 404-973-9901, or you can send him an email at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's andy@myperfectfranchise.net. Thank you very much. Very grateful to Andy and his team for sponsoring the Wednesday night live stream and being part of the On Texas football family. All right, let's start with the Kaliq Lockett discussion because I know it can be a bit of a downer talking about someone's injury and then the being glass half empty kind of thing, glass half full scenario with CJ Baxter in the running game. I promise you guys we'll get to that, so throw out your questions. But let's talk about Kaliq Lockett. I love what I saw from him. I think he's kind of one of the perfect, ideal Sark receivers. We always say Sark's got a type. This young man kind of fits it. I love that he's a great vertical threat downfield. I think he's one of the best deep ball receivers I've seen in a really long time. Really impressive contested catchability. Look at the high point, attacks the football with a ferocious mentality when the ball's in the air. So that's a lot of things to love about his game. Body control is really, really impressive. Allows him to make some very kind of Cirque du Soleil catches. He doesn't need the football to be accurate or on target to just be in his vicinity. I bet he'd be a great rebounder in basketball because his vertical timing's really nice. What are your thoughts about Kaliq Lockett as a receiver and a prospect overall, CJ?
Yeah, definitely a guy that should thrive in a Sarkisian offense that stresses so much vertically down the field, right? I think you hit the nail on the head, Rod, when it comes to the contested catches. He has 11-inch hands. So basically that football is looking like a small bottle of water compared, in Shaq's hands, right? You look at it that way. It certainly helps him bring in some of these contested catches, these catches in traffic. And this is one of my favorite plays, just the awareness to stick with it as the ball is batted up in the air on the sideline while also keeping his feet in bounds. And then you see him obviously extend that, down the field for a touchdown. He doesn't possess that elite speed that you've seen Sarkisian kind of pursue with a Kelshawn Johnson. Obviously, Isaiah Bond, is Silas Bolden, those quickness guys that you see out of the portal. Jonte Cook has a little bit of that in terms of his quick area route running as well. But again, to that point, he makes up for maybe that lack of separation with true speed with that bigger body, with that ability to go up a high point of football and come down with it, where otherwise I think some wide receivers that Texas has pursued this cycle maybe wouldn't have had that luck or those 50-50 chances turn into 60-40, 70-30, as we see sometimes with Kaliq. So absolutely a massive win. You start looking at some of the programs in which were highly, recruiting him. Alabama, a big one. What has Kalen DeBoer done with wide receivers? Well, we've seen 3 wide receivers just a year ago get drafted just as much as Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian were able to do with their group. LSU, what did they do? Well, they had 2 first-round wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Florida State had Johnny Wilson, a big body frame, just like Kaliq get drafted. And, of course, A&M was the other one. And what's A&M ever done at wide receiver? I'm not a whole lot sure, but that was more so the outlier of that bunch. You could tell guys that are really talented at evaluating and utilizing talented wide receivers saw something in Kaliq Lockett for Texas to come away with this win. I would say it's one of the larger wins so far this cycle, especially considering where they'd been sitting 1 week into August and they had yet to land a top-notch wide receiver in this class.
Yeah, and that was all. I mean, that is crazy to consider. I remember just a few months ago the discussion for Longhorn fans were they going to get 3 5-star receivers in the same class? And I remember UCJ saying, "Guys, slow down. Let's just calm it down." You entertained the conversation, but I think you also were interjecting some reality into that. Like, hey, it ain't that easy, guys, to get 3 5-star receivers in the same class. Hell, don't get one in one class. But no, I really I love his game. I think I think he's very compatible with the Sark offense. Sark has what he calls a run to daylight philosophy. He has admitted openly that he doesn't like stop routes, that he'd rather get his receivers the ball on the move so they have an opportunity for yak yards. So he likes yak daddies, and this young man can be one of those yak daddies. But he got a really keen sense and an uncanny awareness for when the football is thrown deep downfield. I mean, he really does. I get that. That's what I love about him, the way he adjusts to the football, body control, just overall vertically. Once the ball becomes a 50-50 ball down the field, I think that's when he really separates with the body control, with the vertical timing on the jumps, the big hands you talk about, so that he can be just kind of manhandle the football. Really like the young man. All right, so good stuff there. Kaliq Lockett, the latest commitment for the Longhorns in the class of 2025. Let's get to a couple of questions here. And then we'll kind of make our way through some of these questions, and then we'll get to obviously I got a couple of topics I want to ask CJ about. They're related to the CJ Baxter injury, but we'll get to that soon. Here is Burnt Horns first up. Thanks, Burnt Horns, for the question. We appreciate it. He said, "Do you think that Baxter out, Sark will go into Shanahan bag and put a wide receiver in the backfield to add another weapon? I can see a wide receiver lineup back there for 2 running back sets. I don't know if you have a wide receiver that has the frame for it, CJ. Now, trust me, he's put a wide receiver in the backfield before. That's just to really get them open, to try to engineer a matchup or to scheme them open somehow. We have seen that before. But in terms of actually utilizing someone as a hybrid in that way, you don't really have that guy. I mean, you had a Savion Red who kind of fit a hybrid role at one point. Honestly, when you had Devin Duvernay on campus, you had a guy like that. You could say, hey, you know what? You do kind of have that frame where you're pretty stout and you're solid and compact, and maybe he can handle. I don't know if you have those receivers. Sark's style of receivers don't really fit that. So I don't know if you have that right now on campus, CJ.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? We've seen Sarkisian be creative in the past when it comes to those gadget, maybe 2-way guys that can go out wide and play some in the backfield. I don't think Jordan Whittington played a whole lot in the backfield or ever lined up in the backfield a whole lot. Maybe in some of
Couple
those,
times.
three back, full house looks where he's maybe an up back to a full back behind him. Keelan Robinson, also another guy that lined up as a wide receiver at times, motion into the backfield. He'll be more of what you see from Trey Wisner this year. But I look at maybe a Matthew Golden. If there's one guy at the wide receiver spot who could do it in my eyes, it is Matthew Golden, because he's used to being in that kind of dirty work, kind of near the line of scrimmage at Houston. They used him often as a quick screen guy, as the lead block screen guy. And we've already seen a few times in practice, he was that guy that was able to, kind of make some space with other wide receivers behind him, being the recipient of a quick screen or a quick slant, whatever it might be. I don't know. I don't know if you have that guy. I don't think you can move Silas Bolden into a running back role. That's not built for what his frame is built for, right? He's only about 5'8", 165, 100.
If that.
I'll leave it at that. 165 pounds probably is where he's at. I see him more as a jet motion and orbit motion, kind of get across the line of scrimmage, get that quickness in motion before the snap, before going out on a route, because he's so talented down the field and tracking a football. I would hate to use him as when he's in the backfield, something's going his direction or not. That's not necessarily where I'd like to see his versatility used. So I don't know. I look at these wide receivers maybe not having that backfield, kind of build right now. Rod, I've seen some questions up here earlier about the pony package and what does that mean with Texas no longer having Blue as an option, Baxter as an option. To me, I think it cuts it in half of what we were expecting. I don't think you're going to be seeing a whole lot of the pony package this year, because you knew what you would have, whether it be a Jaden Blue or a Trey Wisner on the field together, or a CJ Baxter or Wisner on the field together, or obviously Blue and Baxter together. The to entrust, I think, at least early on in the year, right? I don't think that you'll be seeing a lot of the pony package, because you need these guys to stay healthy for an entire season. And now that, the guy that you were expecting to be your number one goes down, well, now you're rolling the dice with two guys on the field a little bit more than you would be with five guys capable of running that offense at the running back position for the entire of the season. Now you're rolling the dice, having an opportunity with both on the field for either one to get nicked up again. I see it a whole lot less than what we were expecting coming into the year.
Yeah, unfortunately, CJ, you're right. It just doesn't make sense now, right? For a lot of different reasons. You just talked about, from a health perspective, you just can't afford to wear out your two starting running backs or your two main backs by putting them on the field at the same time. When you had an embarrassment of riches and you think you went 3 deep potentially at running back, then you had that luxury. Now you don't really have that luxury. So you'll see more single back sets, personnel groupings, whether that be 12 personnel. 11 is their bread and butter, of course. You may get more of the Big 11, Big 12 package. But yeah, you're definitely going to get more single back sets, unfortunately, guys. And that's not anybody's fault. The quicker whoever the young running back who steps up, whether it's a Jared Gibson or whether it's a Christian Clark, the sooner that happens, that they can ascend and earn the trust of the coaches, you may get some of that 2-back set, and you'll get some of it as a specialty package, right? Certain games, certain matchups. But in terms of it being more of a staple of the offense, like you guys know, I've been preaching and hoping that it becomes. And Sark, by the way, Sark has been increasing the usage, I think, more and more. I think you had more of it when you had Bijan and Rojo, but I do think he wants to make it more. The guys, when I talk to the running backs, I ask them about it, right? Straight up, like, hey, you're going to see more pony bag. It's happening. And they all say, yeah, we're practicing more pony. It's going to happen. I don't think you'll get it now, unfortunately. And the sad thing is, guys, that was last season. That was arguably your most explosive, most efficient, and your most effective personnel group. And you're talking about explosive play rate of 25%, a first down touchdown rate over 30%. Your yards per play, damn near in double digits. Your yards per rush, well over 7 yards per rush. You're at 12.9 yards per attempt. It's just crazy. That package is just freaky. It's freaky. So you're going to miss that. And probably until later on in the season, maybe Sark can start bringing it back. Other than it being something very boutique, the truth is, guys, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's you're taking too much of a risk to put both your running backs on the field, both of your obviously your main course running backs, to put those guys on the field at the same time. It's too much of a risk. So it's not going to happen.
I know folks have been, kind of commenting about what that running back room might look like. Will the two-sport kid Nick Sanders become an option? The baseball kid that is now on the football roster, he's got a bigger build. I doubt it. I'll be honest there. I also look at what else is in that room. Well, I think you have 4 scholarship running backs, and I think far and large, kind of more in a way than not. These guys are all kind of similarly built with the way that their frames are. That you don't necessarily see the big bruising running back. I know Jarrett Gibson likes to be kind of pointed to as that guy, but he's only about 205 pounds at the moment. He will eventually get to there, but at the moment, I don't think he's that guy yet, right? Who becomes your short yardage guy? Who becomes your wildcat kind of unique goal line guy that Texas likes to go through? I don't know at the moment. And that's a bit worrisome because I think in the goal line, it would have been CJ Baxter, right? No one else was probably 6'1.5" and 220, right? You just didn't have that guy. Who's your go-to pass protection guy out of the backfield? I don't know. And I've seen the conversations, a couple guys a year ago didn't have that experience. Listen, it's different when you're 6'2", 220, hitting a linebacker around the same size as you versus 5'11", 200 pounds. Right? That's just, physics. That's football. It's a little bit different in that sense whenever you're asked to go out and hit an Anthony Hill screaming down the line, trying to get after the quarterback. These questions are all valid. So I don't know what the answers are at the running back spot. I will say I wonder if Texas looks at a different position, maybe on either side of the football, to move somebody over, like they did with David Benda as a freshman whenever there was only Roschon Johnson in the backfield, essentially. So that's something I look at right now as a possible option. Now, I'm not sure exactly how much help that would provide the Longhorns this year, but it is another body which would, I think, allow you at some point to go more two-back sets. And I agree with Rick Ambergy earlier, who commented, I think you see a lot more two tight end packages, right? Because you need a little bit more larger bodies on the field. You need to switch it up in one way or another. And we're talking about 4 tight ends right now who, again, have looked pretty good and drawn really impressive reviews so far. So, yeah, it is a big loss for Texas. I know that there's the debate of which running back was number 1, which running back was number 2, who has the most explosive ability. CJ Baxter won the starting job as a true freshman a year ago. To act like this isn't a loss, I think is a little short-sighted. And yes, Texas has recruited 2 really talented freshman running backs. But again, you're dealing with guys who have never done it before, who have never stepped into a big house or a Tuscaloosa or a road game in Dallas against Oklahoma. It's much different in that sense. And we've seen what, kind of the inexperience can do to the Longhorns, right? Where did the 2 big turnovers of the Washington game come from? Well, it was a running back that had long been a backup leading up and had been a freshman running back. So a bit different. I think this is a spot in which if, with Baxter most likely expected to be out for the year, it's a bit of a worry. It's a worrisome spot for me.
Yeah, you just lose a lot of versatility, right? We just talked about the pony package. You're going to lose a lot of that. That's your most explosive, most efficient personnel grouping. You brought up the Wildcat, the Rouge Cat, the Red Cat, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you'll have a lot of access to that necessarily, because I don't know if you have the depth at the running back position for guys to be able to fill all those different roles that you're talking about. So it's just, I think I think they're going to be fine once they adapt to it, acclimate. And, I always say coaches are problem solvers. This is part of the problem that you got to solve as a coach. And I think also this is Mr. A17, Mr. Talk Too Much says, why we pay Sark all that money if we can't sustain one injury? This is what, for coaches, this is part of it, right? You got to solve problems day to day, week to week as they arise. And this problem now is that you lost depth at your running back position. You lost your workhorse running back. Now, how do you adapt the offense? And I think they'll figure out creative ways to do it, but it's not going to be there's not one solution to this.
Right.
That's going to be, I mean, I think it's going to be schematic. I think it'll be strategic. There'll be a tactical element to it. Personnel, get different guys stepping up the offensive line. All right. That's a big part of this too. You guys brought the tight ends. It really is going to be, I think, a multi-pronged approach to try to solve the problems that are going to be presented to you now that you lost CJ Baxter. We got a super chat here from Justin. Justin, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it very much. Justin says, Blue and Baxter are different style players, but to me, Blue seems more similar to Brooks. With that said, Rod, CJ, how much does that change the offense? And prayers for Baxter. Yeah, no doubt. Prayers for Baxter. And thank you very much, Justin. I think the offense, more single back sets, and Sark's fine with that. I mean, 50% of the time you're in 11 personnel, one back, one tight end. All right. So and then the next most utilized personnel grouping is 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends. I can see them using more big 11, big 12 with the extra offensive lineman, Malik Agbo. That's another single back set that you can use a lot more of. I could see it, and honestly, with the way that kind of the offense is set up, I could see them trying to rely. And like I said, I don't know if Sark's going to do it. I've been predicting that he's going to break out a 10 personnel grouping. It's not something that Sark has done at Texas. We saw it at Alabama. At Alabama, there was a 10 personnel grouping at one time, just one back, zero tight ends, 4 wide receivers on the field. And if Sark wants to continue to have versatility, now that you're losing probably a lot of your pony package and losing 20 personnel, losing your 21 personnel, maybe infusing 10 personnel, what he called the red package at Alabama, just to try to, diversify and bring more variety to the offense, which he likes. Maybe that's a way to do it too. And you can do some funky things with 10 personnel too. As you guys talked about, you can move some of those receivers around. And I'm not saying, I know some people are like, hey, you can put a receiver in the backfield. You can. It's happened before. The frame is not as important as the skill set, because I saw that Kansas City, they're putting Kadarius Toney like in the backfield a lot, and they're putting him, he's like working out with the running backs. So if you got a skill set where they can hand you off the football and you can, actually be a capable runner from the backfield, that's fine too. I don't know if they have that either though. Matthew Golden might be the closest to that. I don't know if they really have that on campus right now. So I don't know if that's an option. I know people keep throwing it out with the wide receiver depth. I don't know if that's the way they're going to be able to compensate for the lack of bodies and depth at running back right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, I think my tone would be a little bit different if we were in week 4 or 5 right now and you had given these running backs a bit of an opportunity to showcase what they can do in a game situation, at least, have them suit up in a game prior to now being asked to be a larger part of this offense. And I look at the freshmen because I'll say it this way. I don't think Trey Wisner's role is going to change a whole lot with this. Maybe we see him with a little bit more looks as the one back on the field at times.
Have to.
But I think more than anything during the spring, you saw him as that kind of second back on the field at any moment, right? CJ Baxter and Jaden Blue were always on the field with him. And if that's the case, who was going to be the second back if Trey Wisner was lined up in the backfield, right? Who's going to be his Robin if he's playing Batman to those guys? That's kind of where my hesitations come in. Is he built right now to shoulder 5 to 8 carries a game? I think it's a fair question. He's only had 11 career carries, and 8 of them came in one game. So in which Texas was up by 50. It's a fair question to ask right now. Also, maybe you see Amari Niblack in the backfield a little bit. I kind of agree with some of the folks in the chat are saying. You see what he can do with his speed as a lead blocker, even a guy that leaks out into the flat. Hey, I could get on board with that. I don't think you'll be handing the ball off to him a whole lot, but it's at least something that opposing defenses will have to line up with. Again, a lot of questions that will get answered over the next few weeks, right? Texas is expected to be on the scrimmage field on Saturday, where it was supposed to be 100% live. I wonder if that changes at all with the running backs. Maybe go to a complete thud, maybe wrap up in its entirety. But I don't know. I feel like at this point you can't baby that position because of one injury, and that's, again, how something else might spur up and you see a freak injury again like what happened to CJ Baxter.
And one thing, that's a good point, and I'll throw this out there too in terms of how the offense changes, Justin. I do think, and even doing research, in big games, and CJ's done some research on this as well, when Sark's in his bag creatively, he does tend to lean more toward the pass. Now, they're not all vertical deep shots or anything like that, or deep rainbow crossers. It can be simple as very sophisticated creative screens, RPOs, off, power concepts in the run game. But he seems to lean toward the pass and higher pass rates overall early on in games, and that's when on his script. So that's what he's been in his creative bag, and in big games when he knows, all right, he's probably been doing some extra planning, right? Game planning for that, probably in the offseason, something like that. I think you'll get higher, and you'll get much higher early down pass rates with CJ Baxter now out for the season. I mean, also we haven't talked about, why not put it more in the hands of your third year starting quarterback in third year in the system with your 4 or 5 starters returning on your offensive line. You can, and Sark does this a lot in his opening scripts. You watch the entire season, you watch every opening drive, so you probably know better than anybody, CJ. He puts a lot of essentially what are long handoffs in his opening scripts. I mean, essentially, they're just the screen game, the RPO game, a lot of quick game in there. They're simple, easy throws for a quarterback. Every now and then, he's going to chunk it deep early on. But for the most part, he's trying to get his quarterback in a rhythm with quick game, RPO, screen game. I wouldn't be surprised if now maybe every game is with higher early down pass rates instead of just the big games. Like if you go look at his early down pass rate versus Alabama, it was probably in terms of first half early down pass rate, because his first half and second half are very different. Sark wants to open up with the pass and close with the run. You're talking about 56%. Oklahoma was close to 58%. K-State 58%. You can look at Oklahoma State, that was 62%. I mean, when he's in his creative, mojo, in his groove, it's usually the pass that's going to get highlighted, and he's going to be in his creative bag now that CJ is out for the season. Guys, don't be surprised if we just give it to Quinn more.
Yeah.
Just give it to, I know the running game will be, he's going to have balance, but the balance I think will come in the second half of games to close out games. Maybe opening up these games now, it's going to be Quinn's show even more.
Yeah, and I put out earlier on TexasFootball.com and on Twitter, hey, this is supposed to be the year in which you see Quinn be the guy that, basically lifts everybody up this football season, right? We've heard him take those steps in the leadership department. He's now commanding the huddle. He's the guy in which everybody in the program is looking to whenever he speaks, because he's earned that respect throughout the hallways of the locker room. It's going to have to be a guy in which helps get Texas out to early starts. And I think that was always the case for him, right? When you look at when Texas was really, really going early on in games, whether it be Alabama at home, whether it be Alabama on the road, whether it be Oklahoma State in the playoff game or in the conference championship game, what was the result of it? It was Quinn Ewers being on point. So I look at that as an absolute no-brainer. Now, to your point, when Texas does try to go run clocks out or punch it in from the goal line, what's the big key there? Which running back is going to be, the guy that they lean on? I think it's all nuanced to the point that, hey, that offensive line has to figure it out, right? They got to figure out ways to punch in the red zone. Those duo sets that we saw a year ago, all the numbers in which I looked at in the red zone, a lot of execution flaws came down to the offensive line not being able to get their running backs where they needed to go, and not having a guy like Bijan Robinson or Roschon to pick up where they left off and exceed the expectation of the play. So I don't know. I think the offensive line, it certainly helps having them all experienced. K-Drag Ford, did he get hurt on grass or turf? He was on the practice field at Denny's. It was on grass. So I've seen a few questions there. I wanted to address it. It's a freak injury. He got hit pretty late. So unfortunate there, but he was on grass. But again, if one thing can propel a running game more than just the Jimmys and Joes, Rod, it's the offensive line.
Yep, I agree. And we really have not talked enough about them. If they step up, they really could make, this a moot conversation, and they just kind of dominate and impose their will, which they have the skill to do. But I think early on, this could be a team, guys, where the pass sets up the run. Like basically your passing game is so formidable that teams back up their safeties, give you a light box, and invite you to run the football.
Yep.
That you are so intimidating as a passing game between Quinn and the wide receivers that everybody goes, nah, the hell with that. Texas going to score. But I'd rather them take 10, 11 play drives to score rather than just whipping their way down the field via the passing game, Quinn to those wide receivers, and matchup nightmares across the board, and they're scoring with explosive play after explosive play. So if Sark, that could be the mentality too. Put it in Quinn's hands, but also be really aggressive early on and force defenses to have to respect the pass so much that they'll give you the run.
You know who loves light boxes? An experienced offensive line and a center that started about 50 games so far. I'm telling you right now, if you give Texas a 5 or 6 man box with the tight end attached, they're going to have success running the ball.
Yeah. So that's, like I said, we don't know how Sark's going to approach it. I got faith that Sark he's already working on a plan. He's already working on a plan for this. All right, getting back to before we get back to the super chats and the questions, thank you guys for your participation. Really appreciate it. Let's thank another one of our sponsors, Autograph. Really excited to have our friends at Autograph on the channel here and a part of the On Texas Football family. This segment is brought to you by Autograph, the app that curates the best content, tickets, and gear to help you find to help you, the fan, and reach your full potential. Being a fan is a full-time job, so Autograph does the heavy lifting for you. From tickets for big matchups to breaking news, the Autograph app has curated content for fans of all things Texas, all the podcasts, the articles, game predictions as well, everything you could ever want, including the On Texas Football channel as well. We have features there. The new replay feature lets you get the day's news without the noise for when you need it, and you get it when you need it and where you need it to start your day. Use the code ONTEXAS, that's On Texas, to download for free on the Google Play or the Apple App Store today. You can use the code ONTEXAS to download for free on Google Play or the Apple App Store today. So thank you very much to our friends over at Autograph, and thanks to them for sponsoring the Wednesday night live stream and this upcoming segment brought to you by friends over at the Autograph app, helping you become the best fan you can be. All right. Thank you very much, Blake, for the super chat here. Blake May, really appreciate it. Blake says, opening up the throw game may help get rotation in the receiver room with Baxter out. Rely on the next strong core group. Will Baxter out cost us a game? Ooh, yeah. I mean, honestly, Blake, thank you very much for that super chat. That's right on time. Me and Blake are thinking the same way. At this point, I'm with you. I'm looking at the offense as a whole. When I'm looking at the identity of an offense, it should be based on the strength of your offense. What's the strength of your offense? That's your identity, what you hang your hat on, what you do as well, if not better than everybody else. And this season, Texas passing game should be really good. The only thing that would hold it up would be the chemistry, continuity issues between Quinn and the wide receivers. But talent-wise, that's where all your talent is really in the passing game for the most part, right? You got the offensive line. They should be able to give you time in pass protection, but you got a third-year starting quarterback in the same system with several upgrades at the wide receiver position, potentially going 6 deep there if you listen to Sark. That's kind of where I would go. I would lean on the passing game and lean on those receivers. I would let the pass open up the run, and I would force teams to defend the pass with numbers, which means they'd have to back their safeties up. And if you're winning the numbers advantage in the passing game, that means you're losing it in the running game. And that's when we would run it down their throat. I like that call, Blake. I like it
too. And to your point, Rod, I think one of the other things that we'll have to wait and see is you got to open up the run game with the passing game in the second half of games, right? You know, you look at some of the games in which Texas has lost big leads. Well, it's because they've been up by 20 points, right? Houston, Kansas State, TCU. What happened in the second half of games? Well, you didn't see success that much through the air, at least maybe not that aggressiveness that you saw Texas start with to get out to those early leads. That has to become a focal point once again. And again, it will allow that box to remain light if Texas maintains success through the air all the way throughout a ball game. That's what we're really going to be able to look, for successfully in the run game without a CJ Baxter.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see what Sark comes up with. Thank you very much, Blake, for the super chat there. AJJ wants to know, who is the next best back at Pass Pro? And I'm assuming we're talking about behind Jaden Blue here. Man, it's got to be Trey Weisner, I'm assuming. behind
I don't know.
Baxter and Jaden Blue, and we don't know that, but I assume it's Trey Wisner. It's hard to see the field. That's one thing Tashard Choice is big on. I've heard CJ Baxter talking about it. I've heard Jaden Blue talk about it because of his NFL background. Tashard, because NFL running back coaches, they are adamant and they are obsessive about pass pro for running backs because you're protecting the most valuable asset in the company, the face of the franchise. So if you can't pass protect as a running back, it's really tough to get on the field in the NFL. And so they say because of that, he is also very, very obsessive about that element of the game. So I know he's teaching it with consistency. I just don't know who has the most advanced pass protection proficiency among that group. Not sure.
Yeah, it's a great question that we'll have to figure out over the next 3 or 4 weeks, right? Game 1's August 31st, so you don't have a whole lot of time to sit back and worry about question marks. You got to go find the answers. So right now, I don't know the answer to who's the best back in pass protection. I'm not sure that's a strength of any of them at the moment, right? Again, and this just kind of lends to the frames that they possess and the inexperience that they have pass blocking against college linebackers. It's just one of those things in which you get better the more that you do it. And as we're looking at this group right now, they haven't been asked to do so very much at all collectively. So it's a worry. It's a concern right now. But again, 24 days to figure it out.
No doubt about that. Syrup Sailor, I like that. Syrup Sailor. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Says Juan Davis, H-back, let Juanito tote the rock. Yeah, I mean, that's been brought up. I mean, he is an athlete. I
don't hate it.
I don't hate it, actually. I don't hate it. It would give you a different type of two-back set, but maybe you work him into kind of like I said, a modern Kyle Juszczyk kind of role where he's moving around. He's not always H-back, but sometimes he's a flex tight end. Sometimes he's in line. Sometimes he's in the slot. He would give you a lot of versatility and it give you some more variety. The Syrup Sailor, that is not a crazy idea for an athlete. If you're looking for outside the box solutions, that may be one that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I tossed up the idea of Amari Niblack kind of playing in the backfield, not to receive handoffs, but to be a guy where he's a lead blocker. He can play action, stay in, be a block out on the outside to chip, whatever it might be, just a game plan. Juan Davis probably more so is the better idea for that. What's the big strength of Amari Niblack? It's that, that vertical speed that will stretch linebackers and safeties a little bit. I like Juan Davis a lot. Why? Look back to what Jeff Banks said during his media availability, Rod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he's coming across and he sees a defensive lineman in that A gap, and that's his responsibility, he's going to hit the crap out of them. And I mean, you got to love hearing that from a guy who's not yet seen the field a whole lot consistently over his career to find his own little niche role. It makes a whole lot of sense that an injury would, kind of rise up a possibility for him. I don't hate that at all. I like it.
He's physical. That did bring that physicality maybe to that package as opposed to the two-back set, which brings more skill to the package. But no, there's good stuff there, Syrup Sailor. Zane wants to know, can Arch play running back? Even if he could, we put him out there. He's too valuable. We know he can run. 20 miles per hour. We know he can run. He can hit the edge.
Who needs a two-back set when you can go two quarterback look, Rod? Come on.
Hey, now that freaky thing, Kansas has done that a few times.
Yeah.
Kansas had a 2 QB package. They're not the only ones.
One of those Kansas quarterbacks was an all-state track kid in the 100-meter, though. So
can he hit 20 miles per hour like Arch, though, is what I want to know. I'm just joking. No, but I appreciate the levity there. Thank you, guys. Cisco wants to know, is Lockett more like AD? I'm sorry, AD Mitchell here, or Colin Johnson? Oh, I'm going to say more like AD than Colin, but what are your thoughts, CJ?
I think his play style is a little similar to Colin. I think AD was a little quicker in his breaks. What made AD Mitchell so successful down the field, I think, was kind of those two, those double moves, whenever he's able to give a defensive back a second look and a little quick twitch and go.
It's a speed cut.
I don't know if Colin ever had that. Maybe a little bit. Probably not to the success in which we saw a year ago from A.D. Mitchell. I think the catch radius and the hands provide more of that to a Colin Johnson, just kind of that big radius. And I know A.D. Mitchell, had that in him. We just didn't see a whole lot of it until the Washington game, unfortunately. So I see more Colin in a smaller body than I do A.D. Mitchell, who comparatively speaking, size-wise, is very similar.
Yeah. You're right. Skill set wise, I do see that Colin Johnson because he can make the Cirque du Soleil catches. The vertical timing, high points, the football, attacks the football in the air. He's faster than Colin, though. And I do think he's got some of that AD speed cut stuff. A.D. Mitchell was great at the speed cuts. This is what scouts loved about A.D. Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
The speed cut, is basically a full speed cut where a guy doesn't necessarily have to stop his forward motion while he's cutting. And AD was great at it. He would give you a couple of moves at the top of the route, and then boom, that speed cut to the post, or even a speed cut really to a 9 route. It almost looks like a double move sometimes with him.
And also did it at 4.35, right? He had that elite speed.
Yeah.
I know that surprised a lot of folks. It surprised me.
Did.
Right? I didn't think that he was going to clear 4.4. 4.3 I thought was outrageous, but again, good for him. I just didn't think we saw that on the field at Texas a whole lot. And that's kind of where, again, I don't think Kaliq has 4.4 in him right now. Maybe he eventually grows into that. He's not necessarily touted for elite speed at the moment. And again, a little bit more why I lean towards kind of that big body possession guy that we saw at times with Colin Johnson, who just had a hell of a preseason game a week ago.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. He did have a great 2 touchdowns, I think, on three catches. So hopefully my man Colin Johnson ends up sticking on that roster. All right. Good stuff there, Cisco. Appreciate the question. Randy D. Jones wants to know, does the ratio of pass to run change now, heavier on the pass? Thank you for the question, Randy. We discussed this earlier. I think it changes. I think that's part of the, like I said, it'll be a multi-pronged approach to help you solve this problem, or really figure out the issue, remedy the issue of CJ Baxter's loss. But I think ultimately one of them has to be to lean on not only your veteran quarterback who's been in your system 3 years, but the depth of that wide receiver room too. And it doesn't have to be shots downfield. All right. We don't always have to be taking vertical shots downfield. The pass, Sark is one of the more sophisticated, creative screen designers in the game. So it can be really creative screens. The RPO is essentially a combination of the quick game and the run game. Sark's offense, he describes it as a RPO-based passing game. So you got the RPO, you can run that early on, and that is essentially still dedicating yourself somewhat to the run and having balance. But I think the early down pass rates have to increase. And I think right now he's probably hovering around, I haven't done the math this year, but he's probably hovering around 50, maybe around 52%, a little over 50%. But in big games, and I gave these numbers earlier, you go look at the big games for Sark. We're talking about Bama, we're talking about Oklahoma State, Big 12 title game against Washington. K-State was also a game against a ranked opponent. The early down pass rates hover around close to 60%. They're above 55%. Oklahoma, it was 58%. So same thing with K-State, 62% in the Big 12 title game. This is early down pass rates in the first half. Pass rate in that Bama game early down the first 56%. So I think ultimately, I think he should be above 55%, even hovering around at times 60% early down pass rate with CJ Baxter out. I do believe it'll be, and like I said, not basically long handoffs, not vertical shots, not low percentage passes, easy rhythmic passes for your veteran quarterback.
Yeah, swing screens, RPOs, direct missile screens, whatever it is. You hear about the extended layups in basketball at times when it's Klay Thompson shooting a wide open corner 3. Like that's just the way in which it's so simple for him. For Sarkisian, that's very much the same sense. And let your quarterback get the ball out to your big time playmaker very easily. Don't have there be a whole lot of contestment in between the ball being thrown and caught on the outside for him to go make a play in space. So I'm with you. Quick screens, bubbles, direct missiles, RPOs, whatever you can to essentially create a run play out of a ball being thrown.
Yep. That's exactly right. Just a long handoff, if you will. And Randy, I think you will get that. But we'll see. We got a lot of time to talk about and discuss it. Sark's got a lot of time to examine the issue. Someone asked us earlier about, do we think the CJ Vogel loss cost Texas a game? Hook'em Baby here wants to know, Rod and CJ, what's your record prediction now? Adjusted, I guess, for the CJ Baxter loss. That is interesting. You think CJ Baxter's worth a game? In the NFL, they do this. I don't know if they do it in college. They're like, you'll see a player go out or a player be ruled out of a game, and then you'll see the line shift a little bit. I'm like, man, so that player was worth this many points. Or if a player's going to be out for the season, the win total will shift a little bit. Oh, that person was worth 2 games, apparently, or a game and a half, or a half a game. What do you think CJ Baxter's worth to the Longhorns, CJ? You're a man who dabbles in the gambling world a little bit, so you would know this. What is he worth?
It's tough. Over the full-fledged season of a game, I mean, it's tough. You know, you hear the conversation in the NFL that running backs are expendable. You can, go pick somebody up off the street. The Ravens have done it for years. They go find a guy who maybe was on a practice squad 2 years ago. They sign him and he goes for 12, 120 and a touchdown, right? It's bizarre how, easily I think you can plug and play some guys in the NFL. College, I think there's a little bit more weight placed on the value of running backs, right? When you have an elite guy, like a Bijan Robinson, or, I was expecting to put CJ Baxter in this conversation as well. Former 5-star caliber running backs in the college level, they can make, a significant difference on the field. And I think Texas will have a great success with Jaden Blue kind of being that guy this year with the speed that he possesses. But again, if he goes down at any point, now you're in a really, tough spot at the running back position. I think he's worth maybe, half a game, a full game, maybe. I don't know, because at the end of the day, you have a great offensive line, you have a great quarterback, and you have a wide receiving group and tight end group that has plenty of talent. Now, when you need a first down, you have 3, you got to run off 2 minutes. The other team has all 3 timeouts. Who's going to be your guy? Are you going to rely on Quinn to complete a pass through the answer? I think you have to at some point, and then you run the risk of an incompletion, saving 40 seconds, whatever that might be, whatever the situation is. I think with CJ Baxter, you confidently could throw him out there and say, go get me 10 yards with 8 in the box. I think Jaden Blue could do that as well, but it's going to be completely different than what you would have called with a CJ Baxter, maybe an inside the tackles, power, whatever it is. Jaden Blue is going to have to be more outside, in which I think defenses could cheat a little bit and take that away.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I agree with you on that, actually. It's going to be very interesting to see, like, strategy-wise, how Sark adapts to this and really how it changes the offense overall. But I would say that if I had to say what he was worth, I'd say it's a half a game. Half a game.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I say half a game. So if you had him, I believe Vegas had Texas over at 10.5. Was that somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Not at 10. It was from 10.5 to 10. How about that one? All right. Thank you for the question there, Hook'em Baby. Really appreciate it. Before we move on, we got to thank another one of our great sponsors. I thank our friends at Homefield Apparel. Homefield Apparel is focused on creating officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs, folks. They have a wide range of available colleges, but of course, we're focused on Texas. And that's the code right there for you, Texas 24. You get 15% off. All you got to do is use that code when you head to homefieldapparel.com. That's homefieldapparel.com. They have a can't miss kickoff campaign right now. They got football boxes, coaches' jackets, bomber jackets. Also, in those football boxes, they contain 3 never before seen items, unavailable anywhere. So you'll get the mystery box, get some of those goodies from Homefield Apparel. Also, the Platinum Box VIPs will receive additional exclusive items, a new hat or ringer for Platinum VIPs only, the 2024 Platinum Pass guaranteeing 20% off and early access. No more missing out on Homefield because it's sold out, which happens a lot. So you better act quickly to your school's football season throughout the 2024 season. So it's available August 9th at 10 Eastern. It's going to be highly limited, and trust me, folks, they'll sell out quickly. So go to homefieldapparel.com, use the code Texas24, and you'll get 15% off. The convenience of online shopping has never been better than it is at homefieldapparel.com. Check out their vintage designs over at homefieldapparel.com, and make sure you use that code Texas24 for 15% off. Thank you very much, homefieldapparel.com. All right, let's get back to some of the questions here. How about this one from Brandon? Says, Rod, over under 1,250 all-purpose yards for Blue. I like the all-purpose. Right now, I'm thinking, since it, knock on wood, he stays healthy, seems like that should be a no-brainer right now. I mean,
I'm taking that over easily, Rod.
Right, CJ? I mean, when you think about it, especially if we expect, once again, I don't want to jinx Texas, to make a run in postseason, to play more than one postseason game. I think that's also what Longhorn fans are expecting. And that means that considered a conference championship potentially and or playoffs. So that adds to the total for Jaden Blue. So, yeah, man, I'm going over on that one, Brandon, with the expectation that Texas will be playing more than one postseason game. So conference championship and or playoffs. And now CJ Baxter being out. I mean, that productivity's got to come from somewhere. And I like Jaden Blue in the passing game a lot. I think initially before CJ Baxter got hurt, I think that's what he wanted to weaponize him. So I think they got all these creative designs, CJ, and all these really innovative concepts they had ready to go for him as a pass catcher. I don't think they're going to throw that out. I think that now they're just going to tweak that a little bit. And in addition to that role, he's also going to have to fill the role of being more of a workhorse back for them too. So I think you get that 1,250. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I like the over there as well, right? You know, and Blue is so interesting, right? You know, he didn't have a whole lot of touches a year ago, but those touches in which he did have, you know, and I think Gunnar Helm mentioned it this past Tuesday whenever he was speaking with the media. It feels like something special can happen every time that he touches the rock, and I'm with him, right? You know, he's as Rick again pointing it out, legit 10-2 speed. You don't see that too often on the football field when he has the ball. And, you know, you look at that big long touchdown against Texas Tech, in which I think it was about 68 yards, something like that. Mm-hmm. When he turns the corner and has, you know, full space ahead, no one's catching him. And I think that's great. There's going to be creative ways for him to, you know, get the ball into space. Sarkisian's going to utilize him out of the backfield. We saw him have a tremendous catch against Washington on a wheel route late in that game. He was great in 7-on-7 in high school as a wide receiver as well. The question is, if you say he does have 1,200 yards all purpose, what's the split going to be? Is it 800, 400? Is it 600, 600? Is it 1,000, 200? Mm-hmm. Right now, I think that you'll see 30, 35% of all of his yards come through the air. But again, with this increased workload between the tackles now, I think you could be looking at a number closer to 1,400 or 1,500.
Wow. That's the kind of season where you go to the league if you're a running back. I mean, that's just
it's a contract year for him. Yeah.
Yes. I know I'm saying that position, that's just smart. That's just being smart with your value as a player. That position has been devalued. You have a year like that, it's time for you to start collecting some checks. I was looking at it, how many players had at least 1,200 yards from scrimmage last season, and I believe you're at 49 players with at least 1,200 yards from scrimmage. So Jaden Blue could be in that group, no doubt about it. Good stuff there. Thank you guys for that. Damon wants to know, a little recruiting question here. Thank you guys for all of the participation on the show. You guys are killing it today. Okay, who's the next recruit to get in this cycle, CJ? Who's next?
There's a big commitment tomorrow. DJ Sanders, the defensive lineman out of Belleville, will be making his decision, I believe, at midnight. You know, he's one of those interesting commitment times, Rod. You know?
Why, CJ? Why midnight?
Who needs sleep, Rod? It surely isn't you or I. I don't have kids. I don't have a family to love. But I don't know. It's a great question, but you know, that decision's going to come down to Texas A&M and Texas right now. Michigan playing third fiddle right now. It appears that, you know, they're out of the picture. That'll be an interesting one. I think Texas would love to add DJ Sanders to the defensive line room. You know, you saw them win a big recruitment with Josiah Sharma. They're looking to start really building on some of that momentum there as well. It'll be interesting. I think that he's one to watch. Obviously, Michael Terry, Jonah Williams, Jamie French, all expected to make decisions this month as well. But right now, Matthew, do you have the commitment graphic we could pull up real quick just to kind of preview some of these August decisions? DJ Sanders is the next one up, of course. So I don't know. I guess we got 4.5 hours before DJ Sanders goes live.
It's crazy. That's wild. That's wild, man.
But yeah, the other ones down the line, Nick Brooks, the 23rd or the 30th. Will Texas be able to hold on? Find a way to win that recruitment out of Georgia's pocket, who he now lives in Grayson County, will be attending Grayson High School this year. That's one that Georgia has won on in years past when it comes to Juan Gaston and Ernest Green, some of these big body offensive tackles that they point to and say, yep, you're 6'7", 350 pounds, you're going to become a Georgia offensive tackle. Texas would love to add a Nick Brooks to the class right now. Michael Fasusi, another one. Texas and Oklahoma moving forward. It's close for me on that one. I still lean a little bit towards Oklahoma being the team to beat. But 2 full weeks before August 22nd comes rolling around. So we'll see with DJ Sanders coming up here in, the near future, really. That'll be interesting to see which way that one goes for Texas or Texas A&M.
That's interesting. I've watched a little bit of DJ Sanders. He's a powerful athlete, and just destroys opposing offensive linemen. Watching film on him, he's manhandling guys out there. Really interesting prospects. All he really has is a bull rush, pretty much, and it's all he needs. He goes through offensive linemen to get to the play. He
does raw as it gets, Rod. You're right. He's got that strength. He's got that first step. Now it's time to put those pieces together, add some moves to the bag, and get ready for the college level. But absolutely, you take those raw skills 100 times. Yeah, no doubt. And where's he from again? Where's he from? Belleville. I'm not sure where I could point that out on the map.
Is that the country? Because he's country strong. Is that country? So because he's country strong. So
he is.
Okay, there you go. It might be the country then, because country strong. So I think it's more like midnight tomorrow.
It's midnight of.
That's just hold up. Do kids do this? You cover recruiting. Is this who else has done this? Is this a new thing?
I don't know. I don't see these whole midnight unless he's got some midnight practice going on for school. You stay up till midnight or whatever and you announce it. I don't know. It's in 28 hours. Excuse me. Even I'm getting mixed up. The sense of
it's midnight. I gotcha. Okay.
What day starts when? I don't know, man. I'm tired, but
CJ's been putting 2 days too, guys. Two
August midnight of August 8th. So I guess it'll be August 9th at 12:01 a.m. if I had to guess. I don't know.
Rod B, I'll be sleeping. So don't hit me up because I'll probably be sleeping at that time.
I like these noon commitments, these 3 p.m. commitments. Because I know when noon is.
I like that. I'm with you. I'm already up. I'm good. I don't need to make special arrangements to stay up. No. That's recruiting. But people like that. What is it called? Sark After Dark. Is this
right.
Is this still a thing? Sark After Dark. Is that still a thing? Is that?
It's been a minute since we've seen it, but I hope so.
Okay, maybe I'm an old man. I do remember that being a thing, though, trending, Sark After Dark, that being one of the things. All right, I know we're getting close to the end here, so let's thank another one of our sponsors. Thank you to Andy Ludicky for being a part of the On Texas Football family. We're very grateful for his support, but also very grateful that he is sponsoring the Wednesday night live stream. If you're looking to diversify your portfolio, you may be someone like me that has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you businesses that will fit your time allotment and all of your financial goals. So if you're stuck in the corporate rat race, 2 weeks PTO, no control over the money you make or your schedule in general, call Andy today. He will take you through a process to help you find businesses that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, call Andy today. You see the number right there, 404-973-9901. That's 404-973-9901. Or you can email him today at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. So thank you very much, Andy Ludicky. We are very grateful for him for being a part of the On Texas football family. All right. Well, CJ, I know we're getting close to the end of it here. Closing thoughts about CJ Baxter. I got a closing thought. I'm going to try to end on positivity here. So I got a positive thing I'm going to try to end on, but I'll give you the floor, your closing thoughts about CJ Baxter and the overall impact of his loss.
Yeah, I guess you'll end it positively, so I'll start as the opposite side of that. It's a loss. I think it's a significant loss. This was a guy that's a 5-star, true running back, top running back in his class coming in. You're expecting him to take that next jump into the category of the elites. He and Jaden Blue were going to give you that 1-2 lightning and thunder punch that you could have relied on to win a lot of games late. There's a lot of questions that are now yet to be answered or are still popping up because of this departure for the season. So I look at it as Texas has 3.5 weeks to figure out as many solutions as they can for the running back spot. How often are you going to trust your freshman running backs who, and I saw the comments, we might have contradicted ourselves a little bit with Baxter winning the job as a true freshman and then saying that some of these freshmen right now might not be ready to play, but I don't think either of these running backs were the number one running back in the country almost undisputedly at the time. So that's where I draw the line in the sense that the talent was a little bit different in this case as well. But I do think it hinders a little bit of what Texas could do with its offensive ceiling this year. There's no denying it. He's a special talent. It's very unfortunate that he's injured, but Jaden Blue, again, buy all the stock that you can because he's going to be on the field a lot, and he's going to be a great two-way player for you in the run game and the pass game moving forward.
Yeah, I remember when I was a bit down on the Texas running game before last season thinking, hey, loss of Bijan and Rojo, there will inevitably be a drop-off, a regression. How can it not when you lose two elite running backs like that? And I think you did see it in the red zone maybe. That was a bit of a Rojo and a Bijan hangover there, but not overall with the running game. And even like you said, CJ Baxter won the job. CJ Baxter ends up getting nicked up. Jay Brooks comes in. He ends up being one of the best running backs in the country. Probably should have won the Doak Walker if he didn't get hurt. And then he gets hurt. And then Jaden Blue and CJ Baxter come in, and they each have 100-yard games after Jonathan Brooks goes down. And he ends up still being the first running back taken off the board in the NFL draft. That's how impressive he was. There's something special about the Texas running back room, historically and recently. Whether you're talking about going back to the Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams days, when you're talking about Jamal Charles, when you're talking about Cedric Benson, historically, I would put that Texas running back room up against any other position room in the country, historically and recently. That's how good the culture is in it.
Yep.
All right. When you're talking about whether you want to go back all time or whether you want to talk about real time today, they got the second most running backs on NFL rosters right now behind Georgia, and pretty soon they'll catch and pass Georgia, in my opinion. You got a running back coach that a couple of years ago had the only 2 first-round running backs that were drafted. He had recruited and coached both of them. I don't even know how the hell that happens, but Texas got it, right? And the running back coach before that, how often does a running back coach end up becoming a head coach by skipping the coordinator step altogether? Because his running back room was so respected. And that's the situation we had with Stan Drayton. So it's even before to short choice, there was a great culture, a certain level of grit in that room. And Rojo, we all know what he meant to the Steve Sarkisian program. And really the turnaround, the leadership in that running back room really helped turn around the program and revitalize the program. And then you had, I saw the Doak Walker Award watch list. You had 2 players on the Doak Walker Award watch list. And I believe they were the only school that had 2 running backs on the Doak Walker Award watch list, if I'm not mistaken. You had 2 players invited to the combine at the running back position in back-to-back years, the last 2 years. That's the only school that can say that. You're also the only school that's had 2 running backs drafted the last 2 years back-to-back. You're the only school that can say that. The Texas running back room is as good as that Iowa tight end room. It's as good as the Ohio State wide receiver room. It's as good as the Notre Dame's offensive line. I mean, you name a very respected, heralded group who have cemented themselves as a factory pretty much. And, I mean, the Texas running backs, I trust Green Bay when it comes to quarterbacks. I trust Chick-fil-A when it comes to chicken nuggets. and I trust Texas when it comes to running backs.
I like
Even
that.
when Texas was bad, they had a good running back. You know, like Deontay Ford. Even when you were bad, you had a good running back. You had Fozzie Whitaker when you were down. Like even when Texas was bad, Malcolm Brown, they were producing NFL running backs. Texas will be fine. It's running back you. They're good. We just don't know who they are yet, but we will know soon.
We will. I like that, Rod.
Yeah. It's a great room, man. Yeah, that culture is amazing culture. All right. Thank you to my man Matthew behind the scenes, because he's a real MVP. We couldn't do it without him. Thank you, CJ, for all the nuggets, man. Really appreciate all the knowledge you bring each and every time and the energy. Thank all you guys for the super chats. We really appreciate you helping us build this On Texas Football family. Hopefully we were here to help you through this this tough time, Longhorn fans. Try to end on a good note. Don't worry, Texas running back you for a reason. They'll just have to prove it. They'll be put to the test. And I think they're up to that task. Thank you to Andy Ludicky. Thank you to our good friends at Homefield Apparel. Thank you very much to them. Also, thank you to Autograph. We appreciate them for being a sponsor as well. And hey, my friends at Duck Camp, I'm representing there too. All right, we got coffee and football tomorrow at 8 a.m. We also will have the winning drive. Remember, the winning drive switches. 3:15 start time by 3:15 to 4:30 with the winning drive. So you want to make sure that you put that on your schedule. So tomorrow we'll be back, same time, same channel. Until then, hook 'em horns.